Hey guys, welcome back to my channel Rewind That. It's your girl Miss K. If this is your first time coming across my channel, welcome. Please subscribe if you like the vibe and hit that notification bell so you know when I upload more videos like this one, okay? Also, special shout out to my OGs and to my new subscribers. Thank you so much, guys. All right, today we're going to be going over the latest episode of Power Book 2 Ghost, episode number 9 called Monsta. The episode starts off with Kane and Little Guap getting rid of chopped up bodies, okay? While Kane is smiling, Guap doesn't think it's funny at all because those were his friends, you know, the GTG boys, right? And that face Guap made let me know that Kane has no cause to trust him, and he's stupid if he think he could, okay? Next, Tariq gets a text from 2-Bit telling him that he needs 50 G's for saving his behind, right? So Tariq calls Davis to ask if he could make a payment next week to help his grandmother out, which was of course a lie. But Davis tells him that he'll give Tariq till next week, but he'll have to cancel the expert witness he has for his mom. Which we all know that this was just Davis playing the game, okay? And Tariq, of course, wasn't going to not handle business for his mother, so of course he just left things alone, all right? Next, we meet Detective Santana, played by Laz Alonso, and he's at the school to investigate the murder of Bars. He tells Professor Milgram, Professor Reynolds, and the other professors that there has to be more to the story because the person who killed Bars was skilled enough to make it look like an accident. So at this point, Detective Santana has cause to believe that there's some type of gang affiliation going on at Stansfield, especially since they noticed the GTG tattoo on Bars, right? So now Santana wants to go question all the minorities at the school. So in this scene, we also find out that Professor Milgram is an ex-prosecutor. So she's very familiar with the law. And so now she stands up and she tells Santana that that's racial profiling and it's illegal. Long story short, Santana agrees that Carrie and Jabari can question the students anonymously to see what's going on, right? But they're not doing this for the cops. They're actually doing this to protect the students because they're against this whole, you know, racial profiling thing, and they just don't trust cops coming after their hardworking students, okay? Next, we see that Monet has Drew running around, okay? He mentions that they need to enlist more help besides Al and his crew, but she says, I don't need more help. I have you and Diana. So now Rico comes in to pick up the product, but he didn't know he would be moving coke. Monet tells him that Rico has been asking all types of questions about DC Joe, and because they took the product off his truck, it's like the longer they have it, the bigger the problems are, right? So now Rico has to figure out a way to sell the bricks at school, because Monet is under the impression that he can work it out through course correct because nobody is looking, you know. She's like, that's what you said, you know. So now Tariq can't be like, oh, you know, but there's an issue, you know what I'm saying? He has to make it work because, like I said, Monet is thinking that he's got it in the bag, you know, he's got everything worked out. So he cannot let her know he's having friction with his friend. Like, he can't explain all that, all right? Anyway, next, Rico gets a call from Tasha, and she's still concerned about him. She tells him that he shouldn't trust Monet, but that he also needs to slow down, all right? She's not feeling the fact that he's about to sell bricks at school either. Like, she's just not happy that Tariq is selling drugs or nothing like that. And he's like, Ma, don't worry about it. You know, I'm going to do exactly what you taught me, this and that. You taught me how to do this. And she said, yeah, but remember, you didn't give me no choice, right? I had to teach you or you was going to get yourself killed. So, but anyway, Rico tells his mom that he can't slow down because he needs the money to pay Davis. Next, Tariq gets to class, and Professor Reynolds is asking them to discuss racial undertones found in the book Frankenstein. As the students go back and forth with their points, Tariq gets offended when Lauren makes a statement that some people deserve to go to jail. He turns to Lauren and says, like my mother? And Lauren is like, no, that's not what I meant at all. So for me, it was pointless for Tariq to get offended, you know. Lauren was speaking the truth after all. Now, there are people who are wrongfully thrown in prison, but there are so much more that deserve to pay for their crime. And Tariq should have understood that, you know, as smart as he is, he just should have understood. But instead, he was in his feelings and he stayed there, okay, even after Lauren tried to apologize to him. She let him know that his mom doesn't deserve to be in jail, but there are people like murderers and drug dealers who do. So Tariq was just like, leave me alone, you know, and he walked away. And, you know, at this point, who knows what Tariq was thinking? You know, maybe he was feeling some type of way because he falls under both of those categories, you know, a drug dealer and a murderer. It seems like in this episode, he was really dealing with his identity of who he is, you know what I'm saying, as a criminal, I guess. You know, the episode is called Monsta, so he was just trying to either come to grips with it or trying to deny that he is a monster. So I think it was something deeper there, because I know that he likes Lauren, but I just think there was something deeper there. And also maybe he feels like with her saying that people like that deserve to go to prison, he probably feels like, dag, you know, I don't have a chance with this girl because we're just from two different worlds. All right, so next, Professor Milgram is digging through Zeke's file, and she finds out about Lorenzo and his rivalry with the leader of GTG. So that's Big Guap, right? But when Jabari comes in and asks if she found any info, she tells him no. Jabari also plays the same game when Carrie shows him the picture of Zeke's family. She asks him if he noticed anyone from the picture, and when he scans the picture, he recognizes Drew, but he lies and tells her that he doesn't recognize anyone. He just says, nope. So we see that they will both be keeping secrets from each other as they're doing their little investigations privately, right? I mean, in a way, I kind of feel like it's good on Carrie's part that she's not sharing with Jabari, because we already know what Jabari is doing, right? But Carrie, I believe, already has said too much, and we'll get to that soon. All right, next, Drew goes to see Kane and wants to know why he took the corner boys. Kane says if Monet wants to choose Tariq, I'll just take over the streets. Kane also tells his brother that he needs to join him and leave Monet and Lorenzo alone. But before Drew could even respond to that, he sees Lil Guap walking around still breathing, right? So Drew is like, yo, why is he still breathing after what he did to me and what he did to Zeke? And Kane says, because he's loyal. And I don't know where Kane got that from. You know, maybe Lil Guap is loyal. But is he loyal to you, Kane? Or will he just wait patiently to get back at you, even if it takes years? You know, maybe he's just biding his time. You never know. This is something that Kane should have thought about, in my opinion, but he's obviously not smart at all, so we can't expect him to think that way. Anyway, Kane says to Drew, who are you loyal to at this point? You're either with me or against me. And, you know, I feel like Kane is always trying to make somebody choose. Like, it's either me or this one, or, you know what I mean? Like, come on, guy. All right, so now we have Drew, and he's home telling his mother and sister what Kane said. So Monet tells him that he should have shot the place up, you know, and laid them all out. And Drew says, even Kane? And, like, I'm not about to kill my own brother. You know, he looking at her like she crazy. And he let his mother know, look, I told Kane that he got me all the way screwed up, and so do you, because you're trying to turn me into him. Monet says, your father always wanted you to run the family business. And Drew says, but what if I want something else? So long story short, Drew is already struggling with his new position, and he's letting it be known early, like, Ma, this ain't me. But Monet is like, look, I wanted better for you too, but now that your brother is out the picture, you ain't got no choice, you know, and we all gotta accept it. Next, Tariq tells Brayden that Kane killed the kid that was found in the pool. He then shows Brayden the coke he has to move, and even though Brayden is still mad at Tariq, he tells him that they could reach out to Effie, and she could help them move the weight at Yale, because she can charge more there. Next, Tasha has a meeting with Paula and tells her that she knows that she's sleeping with Davis, and that Paula was lying for him about the expert witness. So at first, Paula just wanted Tasha to mind her business, but Tasha got in her head and let her know that the lies don't stop when you're sleeping with a married man. And this kind of caused Paula to, you know, sit down for a minute and tell Tasha that the expert witness is Dr. Epiphany Turner. Y'all know that is funny as heck, because Epiphany is not a freaking doctor, and that is exactly what Tasha said. She said, Epiphany ain't no doctor, she's a stripper, right? So Paula's like, what? So Paula sits down, she pulls up the court records, and she finds out that Saxe is calling Epiphany, not Davis. Anyway, long story short, Tasha tells Paula to ask Tariq if Epiphany ever met Slim. Then she tells Paula to tell Tariq that if Epiphany takes a stand, to treat her the same way they treated Slim. So we know that Tasha just put a hit out on Epiphany without Paula having the slightest freaking idea, all right? Next, Stephen Ott shows Saxe that he had him followed, and now he's figured out that he's working with Davis to get Tariq. The only problem is that Stephen still wants Tasha convicted. He doesn't care if she's innocent, because it's about protecting the story of James St. Patrick. And to top it off, Stephen now wants Saxe to nail Davis McLean too. So the fire is about to be turned up in Saxe's world, which means that it's going to be turned up in everyone else's too, because we know Saxe gets dirty. Next, Zeke goes home and expresses his concerns to Monet about the investigation going on at school. He tells Monet that he might have to tell them what he knows. And we know that he's saying these silly things because Carrie got all up in his head, okay, about coming forward, because if not, he could be implicated for a cover-up. But Carrie also tells him that if he decides to come forward, he can be an anonymous witness and she could speak on his behalf. So now Monet is telling Zeke that he needs to relax and keep his mouth shut. She also lets Zeke know that she noticed how friendly him and Carrie were at the game. So she's figured it out, of course, that Zeke is sleeping with Carrie, but she doesn't let Zeke know this. Instead, she tells him to spend the night. Now, Diana is actually the one who confirms Monet's suspicions when she tells Monet that she found a card in Tariq's backpack that said a professor at Stansfield is sleeping with a student. So you already know, right? Monet goes up to the school and waits for Carrie in her freaking office. Monet tells Carrie to keep her mouth shut or she will expose her for sleeping with a student. She also tells her that if her nephew goes down for the situation at the pool, she's going down as well. Her career is freaking over. But before all that, Professor Milgram already ran her mouth to Detective Santana about a gang jumping some of the players outside of the club, right? Only thing is, when Santana asked if Carrie knew the name of the gang, we didn't hear her response because they kind of jumped to the next scene. But I'm kind of feeling that, she might have said it. Because in the trailer for next week, Zeke was saying something like, oh, you told the cops, so I think she might have said it, but we don't know, right? Next, Tariq and Brayden go up to Yale to meet with Effie, but on their way to meet up with her, Tariq comes clean to Brayden about lying to him about Riley. He also tells Brayden that Riley is Saxe's niece and that she was sent to the school to spy on him. So Brayden was like, no way, he just did not believe Tariq. So Tariq was like, oh yeah, you don't believe me? Bam, right? He shows him a picture of Saxe. And Brayden was like, oh, snap, because he recognized Saxe's face from a picture at Riley's house. Then he says to Tariq, how much does Saxe know about our business? Tariq says, how much did you tell Riley? So Brayden was like, I didn't. But before he could finish his statement, Effie comes walking up. So Brayden excuses himself and goes back to the car while Tariq tries to clear things up with Effie. He tells her that he wasn't trying to blow her off that night by not meeting with her, but he has some issues, like some problems that he didn't want to involve her in. So Effie is like, look, that's either a really good lie or half the truth. Anyway, after Effie tells Tariq that he doesn't know how to make friends because he thinks he doesn't need anybody, Tariq tells her that he needs her. He also tells her that he only knows how to be what his parents taught him to be, and right now he feels like Effie is the only one who understands him. He then tells her that his mother wants him to do something, but he doesn't want to do it because he's not a monster. Effie ultimately tells him that she understands him, even if he is lying, but the problem is that he doesn't understand himself. She tells him that he is a monster, and so is she, but he needs to accept that about himself. Okay, so this scene bothered me a little because it's possible that Tariq could try to accept that he's a monster, especially because he needs someone around him that gets him, like Effie, right? Like, he's attracted to Lauren because they connect on an intellectual level, and to me, that's part of who Tariq really is. But since he broke bad, way back in Power, book 1, he feels like he kind of has to continue on with it, right? And that unfortunately means that he can't have a girl like Lauren in his life because he would have to tell her too many lies. But someone like Effie, he could connect with because they're in the same type of business, right? They in the game. But I still don't think that's the best thing either, Next, Tariq goes to kill Epiphany, but he already expressed he did not want to do this, right? And thankfully, he didn't have to, because right before he pulled his gun out on her, she told Tariq that if she had the money, she would just run because she doesn't want to testify. And remember, Epiphany, she thought that this whole thing was going to help Tasha. It's not like she was trying to be a snitch or anything, right? So when Epiphany said that, that was music to Tariq's ears, and he gave her the money she needed to leave town. But unfortunately, that was Monet's money, and that's going to be a problem. And by the way, a problem that didn't need to happen because fast forward, we already know Tariq is being called to the stand and he's going to confess. So it's like he paid her off for no reason. Now he got an issue with Monet for no reason, okay? But we know that he didn't know all these things were going to happen, okay? Anyway, next, Tasha has another day in court and Epiphany, of course, doesn't show up. So this causes Saxe and Davis to be at odds with each other because, now Saxe is thinking like, yo, you set me up, And now he's threatening Davis and tells him that after he takes Tasha down, he's going to take him down too. Now back in the courtroom, Davis finally tells Paula that he cut a side deal with Saxe, but she's upset that he didn't consult with her first. He tries to get her to understand and help him get out of the situation, but Paula was like, nope, those days are over. If you would have asked me, I would have told you that you couldn't trust Saxe, but you didn't ask me, and now I'm out. Then as the court session proceeds, Saxe lets the judge know that he wants to summon Tariq to the stand, so now a subpoena will have to be issued for Tariq. Next, Tasha calls Tariq to let him know that he's been summoned. Then she wanted to know if he handled the thing with Epiphany. Tariq says no, but then says nothing bad will happen. So Tasha is confused by what that means, but next we see Tariq meeting up with Monet to tell her that he's short with the money. And of course Monet doesn't want to hear any of that and pulls her gun out on him. But Tariq tells her that he knows what coming up short means. So it's pretty much like he was prepared to die, right? Even to the point where he started spilling the beans a bit. He started rambling on about how he chose to do everything he's ever done and he's betrayed all of them, so he deserved what he gets. Then he says, I hurt everyone that cares about me. And that's when we see the flashbacks of Keisha, Tommy, Kane, Raina, his mother, and of him shooting his father, Ghost. So when Tariq brought up his father, Monet was like stuck there a little bit. She was like, what did you say about your father? But meanwhile, Drew was the only one paying attention to the fact that Rico was now outside with the drop. And when he notices that Rico and them were just like sitting outside in the car, Monet realizes what was up as well and told everyone to get down seconds before the bullets came flying into the bar. So now everyone is on the floor taking cover, and Monet notices that Tariq is covering Diana, so you know he's going to score some points there for saving her life. But let's go back a little bit before this happened, because we have a scene where Guap comes in with the shipment because Kane and his crew, you know, they want to start moving product. But then Kane notices that it was Monet's shipment and he gets upset with Guap, but Lil Guap tells him that he got the shipment from Rico and that Rico says he's looking for a new distro for Monet's product. So Kane sees that Rico planned to take Monet out the game, but when he tries to warn her, you know, he calls her, she doesn't answer the phone. All right, so back to the shootout. While Monet and everybody take cover, Drew decides to be stupid and get up to go to the back to get his gun. Monet tells him not to, but he goes anyway and winds up getting shot. Then Kane comes in and tells his mother that he tried to warn her, but her response is to pull a gun out on him and ask him why he wasn't there. All right, to me, that was a very senseless question because you done told the guy to stay away from y'all and that the family has nothing to do with him anymore. So that was a very stupid response. Anyway, next, Paula meets up with Tariq to let him know that Davis is setting him up. She shows him the video of Tariq basically confessing that he killed his father, right? She tells Tariq that he needs to lawyer up and take Davis down. Next, Monet and the family are waiting at the hospital and they get the news that Drew has been taken into surgery. So Kane says that Drew always comes home, and Monet went off on him and told him that it was all his fault. So he says, no, this is Rico's fault, right? Then Diana gets up, slaps him, and tells him that what he was saying was BS because Rico never would have came after the family if Kane never left, all right? So then Monet gets up and tells Kane to run before she puts him down herself. And I was like, wow, that's really cold and uncalled for. And I know some of y'all probably like, uncalled for, you know, the boy's crazy and out of control. And that's true, right? But I'm sorry, I have some type of compassion for Kane because this is Monet's son, right? And he made perfect sense when he told her that he did everything she wanted him to do and that she made him that way. And it was just a sad scene for me because at the end of the day, that has to be hurtful for your mother to turn her back on you, right? You know, what makes it worse is that Kane is right. She definitely created that monster that he is. And now that he's living out his monster ways, you know, and they came back to bite her, now she don't want nothing to do with him, you know, because, oh, it's messing up the family business and everything. You know, that to me is like, it's kind of irresponsible. You know, if you create something that's vicious and terrible and you don't keep it controlled and it gets out some way somehow, instead of letting the daggone thing roam, you need to try to contain it, and you also need to accept responsibility for creating the thing in the first daggone place because it's ultimately your fault. Anyway, so it's very interesting how the episode is called Monsta, and we're dealing with all these scenarios that show us just how monstrous some of these characters can get, right? From Tasha ordering a hit on Epiphany, Kane killing Ramirez and, Saxe always doing what he does, But let's go to Kane killing Ramirez, all right? I feel like Kane killing Ramirez was just like the tip of the iceberg, right? Because we know he's going to wreak more havoc than this. But, killing Ramirez was another way of hurting Monet, even if his stupid behind didn't realize it. Because remember, Ramirez is a cop who kind of had like inside information that often helped the Tejadas out. Help them out of trouble, helps to keep other cops off their backs, you know what I'm saying? But with him gone, Kane has put his family in a more vulnerable position because now they don't have that kind of police protection, all right? But in this scene, we also find out that Ramirez was behind Kane trying to take out Tariq. And I knew that him getting involved with Kane was a bad idea. Like, I already said that. And I was hoping that he didn't, but he did. And look what it got him, all right? Anyway, Kane came looking for help, but Ramirez pretty much just crapped on him like everybody else. And you see what happened to him. He got laid out. Lastly, Tariq meets up with Tamika and lets her know that he's been subpoenaed. She tells him to give him $1, then lets him know that she is now his attorney and anything he says to her is protected by attorney-client privilege. Then she says, "Tariq, did you kill your father?" In that distinctive voice that I love. I like Tamika's voice. Like, it's a voice like nobody else's. Anyway, so she says, "Tariq, did you kill your father?" And Tariq says, "Yes, but not because I'm a monster, but because he was." So, Tamika already felt this way about Ghost anyway, right? So she has no problem helping Tariq out. So basically it's on now. And too bad for Stephen Ott, because Tamika is definitely going to bring up all the dirt on Ghost so that Tariq can be acquitted of these charges. But Tariq does say that he's going to confess because he doesn't want his mother going to jail for something he did. So before I end this video, I just want to say that I appreciate Tariq finally stepping up and taking ownership for his decisions. Ghost tried to get him to do that before, and he killed his father for it. So it's pretty ironic that his father's murder is the thing he decides to confess to, that's kind of crazy. All right, guys, we'll see what happens next week. Let me know what y'all thought about this episode. And I will see y'all next week. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe if you haven't already. Hit that notification bell so you know when I upload more videos like this one. Take care and be blessed. Bye-bye.